was a Peace Corps volunteer in the 80s, I remember this so distinctly. There was a kid who was like 5 or maybe 6, this girl. And you know, sometimes you meet a small child like that and they just are super verbal, super smart, and you could just see them blossoming. And I was amazed by her. And I asked her mom, does she go to school? And she said no. And I said, why? And she said, who's going to carry the water? So, you know, that kid, I don't know, where she is now. I mean, she'd be obviously an adult, but that's kind of the goal, is to minimize that problem. And it's pretty pervasive. So Living Earth Institute's mission is to empower communities to protect their health and environment through the sustainable use of water resources. That is a mouthful. Empowering communities means we do with the communities, we don't do for the communities. Protecting health and the environment is really what it's about, the basics of why we do this work. And sustainability. It doesn't make sense to do something that's not sustainable. We don't build water systems through this program until everybody has a toilet. That's one example of sustainability. 2.6 billion people on Earth live without sanitation. That is about 40% of the Earth's population. That's not acceptable to me. And this is something that we definitely can change, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to talk to you about it. This is a before photo of a man squatting next to a source of water for his village. It's clearly contaminated. It's not protected from animal waste or other waste. It's very shallow. It was the only water available for his village, and there were no toilets. So I think of this as a before photo for the kind of work I am trying to attempt to be successful in through the Living Earth Institute. I started out in college studying engineering, and that's an opportunity that many women my age, and few women older than me, very few had access to this kind of education. But before that, I realized I grew up with one of these, a toilet, which meant my waste, my family's waste, the waste of my community was taken away, went to a treatment plant. I had a clean tap where I actually could drink clean water, which means I didn't have to do this. I didn't have to carry water for my family. I was free of the kind of diseases that are affecting children around the world because of lack of sanitation, which meant I could go to school because I had the time, and I could go to school because I had my health. So this, when I think about where I am today, my goal is to make that more available to people across the world. We currently have a project we're implementing in an area called the Bara district of Nepal. We're working with a group called Bikas Bikalpa Santa. We work with them to implement this water supply and sanitation program in their area. We have 600 families we're working with to build the family composting systems. We're halfway done. We want to get everyone to have it, and at the same time, the areas that have completed their toilets, we're now putting in water supply wells. And there's been a lot of training for women. There's over 100 women who've been trained either in the microlending or the tailoring training. Very exciting. And the thing that's amazing, I brought some annual reports and a little bit of information about our finances. We raise $40,000 a year. That's our average. You know, that is not that much money. And it goes such a long way. We did a study in the Nusha district, the earlier project I was talking about, on the WHO system, and we found, we did it before the water supply and sanitation systems were in 2005, and we did it again in 2011, same place, and the only noticeable difference in that community was the fact that they had toilets and water supply. And what we found was the statistics all got better. Malnourishment, stunting, and development problems got better by a significant portion. At the same time, and this to me is probably the most amazing piece, is when we did the study, we also did interviews. We asked people, okay, who's died in the last 5 years? What did they die from? What kind of illnesses do people have? And counting the people who died in the village as well. And what we found is the death rates overall were lower. But the most amazing thing to me is diarrhea and digestive problems were not cited at all as a cause of death, which is a huge difference. So that's how important this work is, and that's how important it is to build good sanitation systems. But that really is not enough when you think about sustainability, because you could build something, you could plop something in the ground, but if people don't have the resources to maintain it financially or technically it's not going to be successful. So when we build projects in Nepal, we don't just build the projects. We work with the community members, we work with community organizations to ensure they're sustainable. And that means, think about a water system. What does it take to make a water system sustainable? Well, obviously you need a sanitation program. How do you keep those two things sustainable? You need to have people who pay into maintenance funds. How do you pay into maintenance funds if you don't have any resources? You need some kind of training for income generation to do that. And there are a lot of programs that we engage in to do those things, including tailoring, micro-lending, and whatever the community feels like they need to move forward. There was this one point where I knew a lot of people in Nepal. I knew a lot about clean water and sanitation. I had this ability, I thought, maybe to affect change through that piece of knowledge, particularly all the people I knew. And I thought, I have no idea what to do with this information. I don't know how to go from there to some other place about what to do about it. I didn't know about how to start a 501(c)(3). I didn't know how to do any of that. But what I did know is I didn't want to be here at the age I am now, in the 50s, and look at what could have been or might have been or what should have been had I done something a little bit different when this all started. There was a guy I worked with, his name was Steve. He was like, oh, I want to do work internationally. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm thinking maybe I want to do that too, but I don't know how. And he's like, okay, well, let's figure it out. And then he gets online, he gets all the forms, and we fill them out, we send them to IRS, and we made bylaws, we got people on a board. That's how it started. And I bet you could type in how to start a nonprofit on Google and do that. Just figure it out. I don't know. It just happens. Yeah, and actually I just bought a book that's called How to Run an International Nonprofit. I said, I should probably read that. Maybe there's a few things I could learn. So I have 3 messages about this story. One is, I believe there's a niche for everybody. So if you find your passion or just be open to it, it will come and you'll have those kind of opportunities. The second is, you don't know how to do something, you don't have to know how to do something in order to do it. Trust, just do it, figure it out along the way, don't worry about it, don't be anxious, you don't need to know how to do anything, just do it. And secondly, and this I think is, thirdly, the final one is, and this I think was the strongest one for me. I visualized myself, 20 plus years later, and I didn't want to wonder what it would be like had I not done it or had I not taken this different path. So it's kind of avoiding future regret. I showed you a before photo earlier. These are the after photos of people actually enjoying clean water for the first time. Life-changing, indeed.